It's a dreary, dreadful, abominable day. And that's just outside. It's practically flooding over here. But it's also a dreary, dreadful, abominable day because once again, this is the third time since I've changed channels that I've had to report and that I've had to review a piece of atrocious nonsense from this Punk Goes Whatever series. And this time, it's going to be Punk Goes Pop 4. Of course, I've already done a Punk Goes Pop. I've done a Punk Goes Classic Rock. And now I'm doing another Punk Goes Pop. Well, it's time for me to be straight up with you guys. It's time for me to be perfectly 100% straight with you guys. I almost didn't want to do this. I really didn't. And the reason why is because I knew, going into this, what to expect. See, the first time I did this, I didn't know what I was going to expect. I didn't know what was going on. So whenever I heard this idea of, a whole covers album being done by various bands, I thought to myself, you know what, these are a lot of bands I don't really care for, but maybe, just maybe, they can do covers well. Because a lot of times covers can be done very tastefully and very well done by bands, no matter who they are. And I like them. You know what I mean? I like them. And these are pop songs. I mean, there was a lot in the last collection of songs that I actually kind of enjoyed, and they still fucked it up. And now we got another slew of songs. But this time it's a little bit different. This time it's a little different than it was before. This time, the choices they even made sucked. At least last time, whenever they did this last time, they had a nice convocation, a nice little cornucopia of tracks from the pop scene that were halfway decent. This time around, it really seems like they just decided to scrape from the bottom of the barrel. Either that, or the truth has really become this, and that's that pop music has become so generic and tasteless and garbagey that there's just not even a good pop song out there anymore. There's about 3 or 4 songs on this album that they decided to cover that I either like or tolerate. There's the Wiz Khalifa song, there's Adele's Running Through the Deep, and there's 2 others that I can't even remember. Why? Why can't I remember this? Because the versions of them were terrible. First off, I'm going to get to this right away. I know I mentioned this in the previous video, but this still is not punk. It still isn't punk. It still isn't punk. But Mark, what this generation sees and hears is punk music. This isn't the punk music of old. These aren't punk oldies. I don't care. This is not punk. This is not the genre of punk. The genre of punk still exists. There are still bands out there that carry that banner and wave it high and wave it proud because they like exactly what they heard. This is barely pop punk. This borders more along the lines of emo, of screamo, of some metalcore, some deathcore. And you would think that with the addition of metalcore and deathcore, there actually could be something a little bit better on here. But TGIF, the Katy Perry song, is done by a band called Woe Is Me, and it's done in more of a metalcore, deathcore style, and it sucks. It's terrible. It's awful. That's a song that shouldn't be covered by anybody. That's a song that shouldn't have been put out, period. It's just, ugh. There's so many problems with that track that I can't even imagine words to really accurately describe it. It's almost like Katy Perry just decided one day, you know what, I don't give a fuck that my target audience is typically children. I'm just going to go in there and encourage them to fuck around and get as drunk as humanly possible. This is almost as bad as the fact that in the store, the only Breaking Dawn shirt that we have available is Edward and Bella having sex with italic letters that read, "Practice makes perfect." And the only sizes it's available in are juniors. What are we encouraging 12-year-olds to do? And why are we encouraging them? They're already fucking doing it! Speaking of 12-year-olds, there's a number of clean vocals on this album that sounds as though it's being done by the rock and roll version of Justin Bieber. And let me tell you something, if there's one thing that may actually trump Justin Bieber in annoying, it's a rock and roll version of Justin Bieber. Because it just sounds as though these small little children have been given microphones, they've been given guitars, they've been given recording contracts. This is as bad as Rebecca Black. This is awful! The bands that are on here, some of them are established, others are not. That's been sort of a tradition on these particular records, and it's been a way for them to get exposure to a greater audience. That way, whenever their records come out, they attain more sales, get more of the kids involved. Either that, or if they already have records out, they are now discovered by new people. I understand the concept. I like the concept. That's what any compilation album really aims to do. And this one's no different. However, this Punk Goes Whatever series just has to die. It really does. It has to go somewhere far, far away and just burn. It really does. Go Radio, you did a cover of Rolling in the Deep by Adele. One of the best songs of the year. Probably one of the top songs of the year in the pop department, not to mention from the top-selling artist in a very, very long time, but let alone for 1 year. It's an album that's gone 11 times platinum worldwide and is going to be doing ridiculous numbers throughout the holiday season. You should be exterminated from this planet, Go Radio, because you fucked up a song that's almost impossible to fuck up. It's a very, very easy song to do. Not vocally. Vocally, it's a bitch, don't get me wrong. But whenever it comes to basic construction and trying to make it sound as though, it's the song, not that hard, not that difficult to do. I would have sooner allowed Britney Spears, Jessica Simpson, Christina Aguilera, Rihanna, or an actual pop artist cover this track. John Legend covered this track, and it was awesome. And he's not even a chick. But you guys do this, and I want to pull out all of my hair and become bald like Devin Townsend. You did this, and I want to emasculate myself, become a eunuch, and then all of a sudden remember, fuck, I emasculated myself, that means I can't have sex, now I'm fucking miserable, and slice my own wrist off, just like all of you emo fucks out there. If you want to buy this album, that's fine, ladies and gentlemen. I am no longer going to sit here and tell you not to. You know why? Because in order for me to encourage the music, and in order for me to really support the music, I have to let you guys fall on your face and buy crap. But I will say this, I will forewarn any person out there that has never heard of the Punk Goes Bleh series. If you're expecting talent, if you're expecting amazement, if you're expecting something glorious, if you're expecting to hear the next Bruce Springsteen, if you're expecting to hear the next great band that's going to sell 55 million records worldwide over the span of their career, look somewhere else, because it sure as heck ain't here, and if it were to happen to be here, it sure as hell isn't going to be anything good. Anybody who's a fan of this channel, you will probably hate this album. I hated myself just for listening to it. And I think I finally figure out emo. I think I finally figure it out, even after I did the video. I listened to this album, and I wanted to die. I get it now. You listen to these albums, and you just want to die. Because it's so awful. You think to yourself, shit. There is 1,001 different things out there that are much better than this. And that's just scratching the surface. I could fucking whip my dick out and pretend I was doing something with it. I could jack off and the little flat noise would be much better than any of this crap. But once again, Punk Goes Pop 4 is out on shelves now. Terrible bands doing their own takes on terrible songs, with the exception of very few. And once again, I sit here before you, Cover Killer Nation, and boldly exclaim that this is a series that should be exterminated from society. This is something that should not be 100% backed. This is not something that should be encouraged. This is something that needs an intervention. And I believe I'm just the man to do it. I believe we need to get the people who put out these Punk Goes Whatever series, sit them down in a room, and we need to say to them, listen, a lot of people around you are sick and tired of watching you abuse yourself and others. And we're here to perform an intervention. So by the power of goddamn Christ, Satan, Buddha, and the fucking Tao of the universe, stop it! That's all I have to say.